A man storms into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom screaming, "Do you know who I am?" His voice echoes through the marble halls, dripping with arrogance. Everyone freezes. The courtroom whispers, tension so thick it could cut. But Judge Caprio doesn't flinch. He leans forward, calm, ready to deliver words that would shatter a legacy forever. Today's story is one that will grip your heart and shake your sense of justice. The mayor's son, wealthy, untouchable, convinced he can bend the law with a name alone, faces Judge Frank Caprio, the man who has humbled the proud and protected the innocent for decades. It's a clash of privilege versus principle, ego against experience. The courtroom is packed, family members, victims, strangers, all holding their breath. Everyone knows this is no ordinary hearing, this is a reckoning. What happens when a young man, raised believing the world revolves around him, finally meets someone who will not be intimidated, someone who sees through arrogance to the truth? Brace yourself. What happens next will leave you speechless. The mayor's son, Ethan Radcliffe, bursts into the courtroom like he owns the city. A crisp Armani suit clings perfectly to his tall frame, cufflinks glinting under the harsh courtroom lights. His leather briefcase, clearly custom-made, swings from his wrist as if it alone announces his presence. Dramatic music swells, his iPhone never stops buzzing, but he ignores it, smirking at the murmurs filling the room. Ethan's friends trail behind him, two young men with Gucci sneakers and smug grins, whispering jokes that only they find funny. They lean casually against the marble pillars, scanning the courtroom as if it were some private club. The clerk glances nervously at Judge Caprio, who sits silently, hands folded, eyes sharp, waiting. "You know who I am, right?" Ethan demands as he approaches the bench, voice dripping with entitlement. He tosses his briefcase onto the floor, the thud echoing like a challenge. His words aren't a question, they're a statement, a demand for deference. The courtroom shifts uncomfortably, murmurs rise. The mayor's son has done this before. People expect Judge Caprio to either stumble or politely acknowledge his pedigree. But Judge Caprio doesn't flinch, he doesn't blink. He leans back slightly, a calm presence amid the storm. His gaze pierces Ethan's inflated arrogance like sunlight through storm clouds. Silence falls. Even the guards seem frozen, sensing that this encounter will not follow the usual script. Ethan's legal team, wealthy attorneys with perfectly pressed suits and practiced smiles, hover anxiously. They know the reputation of the man behind the bench. Caprio has a history of disarming the proud, of cutting through their defenses with words sharper than any lawyer's cross-examination. Today, that reputation isn't just a rumor, it's their greatest fear. The hearing begins, and almost immediately, Ethan's attitude flares. He interrupts witnesses, scoffs at the charges, and rolls his eyes at anyone who dares speak against him. The victim, a young teacher named Sarah Collins, grips the edge of the witness stand, visibly shaking. Her voice is soft, measured, but carries the weight of someone who has endured more than her fair share of disrespect. Ethan leans forward, smirking, and mutters, "You're making a big deal out of nothing." His tone is sharp, mocking. He glances at the gallery, expecting laughter, applause, or at least admiration. There is none. The room is tense, the air thick with anticipation. Judge Caprio finally speaks, calm but firm. "Mr. Radcliffe, the law does not bend for names, wealth, or social standing. It applies equally to all. Do you understand that?" His voice is steady, carrying authority without raising volume. It is the first crack in Ethan's armor, a subtle but unmistakable challenge. Ethan's smug expression falters, just slightly, as if the words are foreign to him. He leans back, scoffs again, and mutters, "I think you're overstepping." The gallery shifts uncomfortably. Ethan has made his first mistake. He assumed arrogance could intimidate someone who has seen it all before, and Judge Caprio, who has faced presidents, mayors, and billionaires, is about to teach a lesson that will echo far beyond this courtroom. As Ethan straightens, preparing to launch another tirade, Judge Caprio reaches for the evidence folder. The next words, and the documents about to be revealed, will turn arrogance into panic. But what happened next left the entire courtroom speechless. Judge Caprio opens the folder slowly, deliberately, letting the sound of turning pages echo in the tense courtroom. Dramatic music swells, the room falls silent, every eye glued to the bench. Inside are police reports, videos, receipts, evidence meticulously compiled over months. Ethan's smirk falters, just a flicker, but it is enough to make the gallery hold their breath. The first document is a receipt from a high-end restaurant. Ethan had refused to pay the full bill, claiming he knew people who could make it disappear. The waitress' handwritten notes attached to the receipt describe his arrogant threats and dismissive behavior. Judge Caprio's finger traces the line slowly. "Mr. Radcliffe, are you aware that this is considered intimidation?" he asks, voice calm but unyielding. Bar Ethan waves a hand. "It's just a misunderstanding. People overreact," he mutters. "Is it?" Judge Caprio replies, letting the question hang in the air like a storm cloud. Courtroom gasps. He turns the page. A video from a local store shows Ethan pushing an employee and shouting, "Do you know who I am?" The footage is undeniable. Even Ethan's attorneys shrink back, realizing this is far beyond their usual courtroom maneuvers. Bar the courtroom murmurs. Could arrogance really be this dangerous? Could someone believe a name exempts them from responsibility? And yet here it is, in black and white. Judge Caprio's eyes meet Ethan's. "Do you recognize yourself in this video?" he asks quietly, but the words strike like lightning. Bar Ethan hesitates. "Well, yes, but—" "No buts," Judge Caprio interrupts. "The law does not recognize wealth or influence as protection." Tense silence. The courtroom hangs on every word. The mayor's son, who once thought the world bowed to his presence, now struggles to maintain control. Next, Judge Caprio presents testimony from Sarah Collins, the young teacher. Her written statement details how Ethan's reckless behavior endangered others. Spilled drinks, broken phones, and verbal threats in public. The gallery listens, some leaning forward, some gripping benches. Every word chips away at Ethan's confidence. "Do you see now," Judge Caprio asks, "that privilege does not grant impunity?" The rhetorical question slices through the room, impossible to ignore. Ethan's jaw tightens, a flash of panic in his eyes. He's used to getting his way, yet here, every lie, every excuse is stripped bare. Dramatic music swells. Judge Caprio leans back and pauses. He allows the weight of the evidence to settle, watching Ethan's reactions closely. His attorneys glance at each other nervously, aware that they cannot spin this. There is no story clever enough to overshadow the truth. At this moment the gallery whispers, some shaking their heads in disbelief. The contrast is clear, the arrogance of youth against the steady wisdom of justice. For the first time, Ethan looks small, exposed, and frightened. Even his friends, once so sure of themselves, shift uncomfortably, realizing that no social status can erase the facts. Judge Caprio closes the folder slowly, and the courtroom collectively exhales. Every eye remains on Ethan, waiting for a response. What will the mayor's son do now? Will he finally take responsibility, or will he double down on arrogance? But what the documents revealed next left Ethan frozen in disbelief. Drop a comment below if you think anyone, no matter their wealth, should be held accountable for their actions. Sarah Collins rises from the witness stand, her voice steady but filled with raw emotion. People crying. "I trusted him to behave like an adult," she begins. "I trusted him not to think the rules didn't apply to him, but every day it felt like he thought the world existed only for his amusement." Her words hang in the air, sharp and undeniable. The gallery is silent, eyes glistening. This is not just a courtroom drama, it is a reckoning. Sarah continues, detailing every encounter, the insults, the public outbursts, the constant fear. "It's exhausting," she says quietly, voice breaking, "and it shouldn't have been this way." Tense silence. Ethan sits frozen, his usual bravado stripped away. His slicked back hair no longer looks imposing. His Armani suit feels like armor, but even armor can't shield someone from truth. He opens his mouth, but the words stumble out, defensive and petulant. "You're exaggerating. I was just what?" Judge Caprio interrupts, voice calm but cutting through the tension like a scalpel. "Just what makes you believe that wealth and a name excuse behavior that would humiliate anyone else?" The rhetorical question lands heavily. Ethan's friends shift uncomfortably, the smirks gone, replaced by the first hints of fear. This is the moment the courtroom realizes something remarkable. Justice isn't intimidated by money, influence, or entitlement. Ethan's arrogance flares again, though, a desperate shield. "Do you even understand who my father is?" he snaps. Courtroom gasps. His words are meant to intimidate, to regain control, to remind everyone of the power behind his name. And this is the moment Judge Caprio leans forward, calm, deliberate, every word weighted. "I do not need to know your father," he says slowly, every syllable measured, "because I know the law, and the law does not recognize fear, it does not bend for status, and it certainly does not cower to threats. The courtroom holds its collective breath. Ethan opens his mouth again, but no words come. Even the attorneys exchange glances. He has never been silenced like this. For the first time, he is confronted with the undeniable truth. Actions have consequences, no matter who you are. Sarah sits back, tears brimming, finally feeling the smallest sense of relief. The young man who thought he could terrorize her is now exposed, stripped of illusion, and confronted with the weight of every choice he made. Judge Caprio looks around the courtroom, sweeping eyes taking in the stunned silence, the tears, the anticipation. "Radcliffe," he says, voice low and resonant. "Do you understand why this courtroom exists? It exists not to punish for pleasure, not to humiliate for entertainment, but to ensure fairness, to give voice to the powerless when power is misused." Ethan's hands tremble slightly. He tries to regain composure, but even he senses that the scales have shifted irrevocably. His entitlement, his arrogance, all the years of believing he was untouchable, crumble piece by piece. Dramatic pause, and just as the tension peaks, Judge Caprio prepares to deliver the words that will become a lesson heard far beyond this courthouse. The moment has arrived. The reckoning is near. Hit that subscribe button if you believe arrogance should never outweigh accountability. But Ethan's next words would ignite a firestorm he could never control. Judge Frank Caprio rises slightly from his bench, the courtroom falling into a heavier silence than before. Dramatic music swells. His gaze sweeps over everyone: Ethan, the gallery, the attorneys, and Sarah. Every eye is fixed on him, waiting for the verdict, the lesson, the justice. But what comes next is far more than a ruling. It is a masterclass in humility. "Mr. Radcliffe," he begins, his voice deep, steady, carrying the weight of decades of wisdom, "you stand here today not because you are poor, not because you are unknown, but because you believed wealth could replace responsibility. You thought a name, a title, or a father's influence could shield you from the consequences of your actions." Ethan squirms slightly, jaw tight, trying to muster a retort, but the words get caught in his throat. Judge Caprio doesn't pause. "Do you understand that respect is earned? That dignity is not a privilege you inherit, but a value you demonstrate through choices?" He gestures towards Sarah. "This young woman trusted you. The world trusted you to behave as a decent human being. And yet, you treated that trust as an inconvenience, a joke. How many times must life remind a man that arrogance is not strength?" The rhetorical question slices through the room. Ethan's face pales, realizing that no amount of Prada, Gucci, or BMWs can armor him from this truth. Judge Caprio continues, voice rising, but never losing that calm precision. "Your father's position, your wealth, the titles you parade, these are irrelevant here. What matters is what you do when no one is watching, when no one can be impressed, when the only measure is character." The courtroom feels the tension in their bones. Every word Judge Caprio speaks is measured but piercing. His hands rest lightly on the bench, yet the authority in his tone makes them feel like iron. Privilege without responsibility is arrogance. Arrogance without accountability is dangerous. And danger disguised as entitlement will always meet justice eventually. Ethan's friends shift uncomfortably, glancing at each other, their bravado gone. Even the attorneys avoid eye contact. This isn't a lecture. It is a reckoning that leaves no room for escape. Judge Caprio leans slightly closer, voice dropping so everyone strains to hear. "Do you think anyone, no matter how powerful, is above the law? Do you truly believe that being born into influence grants immunity from shame, from consequences, from truth?" The rhetorical questions land like thunder. Ethan swallows hard. Sweat glistens at his hairline. For the first time, he feels small, insignificant. His world of entitlement, of unearned pride, has collapsed in front of hundreds of witnesses, all of whom now recognize the reality: status does not equal justice. Judge Caprio pauses, letting the weight of his words sink in. "Mr. Radcliffe, the law is not your enemy. Justice is not your adversary. But arrogance? Arrogance will be your undoing if you continue to ignore it. And make no mistake, this is not just a lesson for you. This is a warning to everyone who believes that money and names can replace decency." The gallery is silent. Even Sarah sits back, absorbing the magnitude of the speech. Judge Caprio's words have exposed every lie, every excuse, every shield of privilege Ethan believed could protect him. And then Judge Caprio leaned forward and delivered words that would haunt Ethan forever, like this video. If you believe true justice sees no titles, no wealth, no excuses. Ethan Radcliffe sits frozen, the full weight of Judge Caprio's words pressing down on him. Dramatic music swells. The arrogance that once filled every corner of his being has been stripped away. He looks around, realizing for the first time that respect is earned, trust is fragile, and privilege is meaningless without accountability. Sarah Collins exhales slowly, tears glistening in her eyes. "I just wanted someone to take me seriously," she whispers to herself, relief washing over her. The courtroom feels lighter, as if decades of injustice and entitlement have been exercised in one powerful speech. Judge Caprio looks directly at Ethan, eyes steady, voice unwavering. "Mr. Radcliffe, it is time to take responsibility, not because I said so, not because the gallery demands it, but because it is the only way to live with honor from this day forward." Ethan swallows hard, his chest rising and falling with panic and realization. He nods slowly, the first crack in his armor of arrogance. I understand, Your Honor," he murmurs, barely audible. For the first time, the young man who believed he was untouchable admits wrongdoing. He turns towards Sarah. I'm sorry," he stammers. The words are awkward but sincere, carrying more weight than any apology he has ever muttered. The room holds its breath as forgiveness, humility, and redemption collide in the air. Judge Caprio leans back slightly, nodding. "Redemption is not granted, it is earned. Today, you have begun that journey. Do not waste it." The gavel bangs once, a sound that reverberates like truth itself. Ethan's friends glance at each other, disbelief etched across their faces. Privilege does not protect them, influence does not shield them, and arrogance cannot hide them. This is a lesson they, and everyone in that courtroom, will remember forever. Outside the courtroom, news spreads rapidly. Social media ignites with clips of Judge Caprio's speech and Ethan's stunned humility. Videos go viral within hours. People share the story, not just for drama, but because it's a testament to accountability, courage, and the power of one man to teach a life-changing lesson. Even months later, the story resonates. Ethan volunteers at local charities, works to repair the relationships he damaged, and slowly transforms from entitled son of privilege into someone conscious of consequence. The miracle of accountability becomes real, not as punishment, but as an opportunity to grow, to redeem, to truly understand the world beyond wealth and titles. Sarah smiles quietly when she hears about his efforts. She knows the world has shifted, if only slightly, and she feels vindicated, safe, and heard. Justice, in its purest form, has arrived. The courtroom empties, but the lessons remain, echoing long after the marble doors close. Judge Caprio's words continue to ripple through communities, reminding everyone that no one is above the law, no ego is untouchable, and that true humility begins when privilege meets truth. Hit that subscribe button if you believe everyone, no matter their status, should face the consequences of their actions. And in that final moment, the courtroom erupted, not in anger, but in awe. The story doesn't end with the gavel, it continues in the hearts of everyone who witnessed it, a reminder that courage and accountability outweigh wealth and influence. Judge Caprio showed the world that justice is patient, unwavering, and powerful. The mayor's son learned the hard way, but redemption became possible through honesty, humility, and courage to admit mistakes. This courtroom tale is more than drama. It's a lesson for everyone. No matter how big you think you are, the truth sees all, and justice does not discriminate. Share this story with friends, family, and anyone who could use a reminder that actions have consequences. Like this video if you believe integrity matters more than titles. Subscribe and hit the bell to follow more stories where justice triumphs. And share this one to remind others that arrogance never wins.